Welcome back to my office, guys. I'm here tonight with Henry Brown. Henry Brown is creating comic books and sharing them on Substack. And oh my God, I took a look at what I got in my email box, and I was just blown away. Tell me all about this. It looks phenomenal.
Oh, well, thank you for the kind words. My plan is I've got this series in mind. It's a superhero series, and it's called Tales of the Earthbound. And right now I am finishing the first graphic novel in that series, and it's called Threat Quotient. So you got, to summarize briefly, we're working toward a showdown between two groups of what we would call superheroes.
Okay.
And so there are no supervillains per se. Both sides think they're on the right side of history. And it all centers around there's a international conglomerate that is trying to establish a central bank in a small country in Asia. And the people there and their legislature don't want it, but some people do want them to have it. And so this is where the conflict comes to a head between these two super teams.
Right on. Okay. Well, I love the setup, and I'll tell you right off the bat, the thing that absolutely makes it sing to me is the idea that there are no villains, that both sides think they're on the right side of history. That is, I mean, that's reality, right? That's how the world actually works. That's how conflict actually works. Nobody ever went to war thinking they were on the wrong side of history.
Exactly.
And I always, when I write adventure stories and I have a villain person, I try. It's a little harder in a one-on-one because often the motivations are more fun if they're a little bit evil. But I do like the villain who is the villain who thinks he's right, who is, he's doing these horrible things, but he's doing them because he thinks they're necessary and the right thing to do. So that's, I mean, right off the hop, you've got a great premise. I love it. I think that's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
I looked at the art. Now, do you have any of the art handy that you can maybe put?
Let me see. I'm not even sure how to share the screen, but yeah, I can find some.
The screen sharing here. If you have them on paper, it's a little. But if you don't, it's all good. I will find a way. I'll put them in the article down below. I've got.
Okay.
But we'll figure that. But what I can tell you is that the art pops. There's some really, really great, and it looks like there's more than one artist involved. I could be wrong, but it looks like there's a couple of different styles there. It seemed to me like there was some of the heroes looked a little like they were created by somebody else. Like there were a couple of different hands involved there.
That's probably my fault. Well, it depends. If you were looking at, I'll tell you why in a second. If you were looking at the promotional stuff, I did use an extra artist for that, and she's got a different style than the guy who did the interior.
Okay.
The sequential art inside. But as far as the sequential art inside the book, if it looks like the style's different, it's probably my fault because I'm trying to color it, and I'm not a professional colorist.
Okay.
And I've been doing the best I can, but my shading is really rudimentary and bare bones. I have been getting better as I've gone along. So maybe that could be it.
I think it was because I was seeing the promotional stuff. I think I was seeing some of the a mix of the both. And the thing that like I said, what I love is there was the action seemed very, and I hate to throw this term out there because it's not fair because it's not just them that does it, but it very, very Marvel action. There was I felt very, very kinetic action there. And to me, again, comic books, there's nothing better than a comic book that moves. Me, that's you. If you're a reader of comic books, you know what I mean. When you open up a comic book and you're flipping through the pages, sometimes I will actually buy a book, and instead of reading the story, I tend to just kind of flip through it just to look at the art first without knowing anything about the story, because that kind of gives me a feel for the whole thing that they're trying to do. And then I go back and I read the story because now I've got a feel for how the universe works and how the characters work, how they move, and you get a lot of characterization from the art. My good buddy James Lua was talking about this just this week, and he put up this wonderful note that says, "Comic book writer says, okay, give me Conan going into a really incredible room, and then the next panel is this huge, unbelievably complex panel of Conan walking into this massive overdrawn, it's like, okay, who's got the heavier workload here? So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you're when your art tells part of the story, that's again, I'm a writer. I'm somebody who works with words. So when your art is telling the story, how much of that do you plan out, or how much of that happens just when you're doing it and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm moving this from A to B. I know when I write, sometimes stuff happens that I wasn't expecting. Does that happen when you're drawing it too?
Oh, well, first of all, um, I loved when I was a kid. I loved the Marvel slugfests,
Oh yeah.
based on some kind of misunderstanding or something. And like I loved of course, Batman was my favorite character, and I loved the detective work, and I loved the gadgets and all that. But what I liked the best back then was when he got in a fight,
Oh, of
with or
course.
without Robin. Yeah.
Oh,
Um, and I did draw when I was younger, but I am a writer myself now. So it was Luke Stone who did the art
okay.
for Threat Quotient. And I wrote a very detailed script telling him what I wanted in each panel.
Okay.
And so, um, but you're always kind of surprised what the artist comes up with, based no matter how detailed your description is.
Yeah.
It's never quite the way you picture it. And I lucked out because he's extremely, I think he's really good with facial expressions,
I
and
thought so.
with body language. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And isn't that sort of half the battle when it comes to the
Yeah.
there's a sort of, I'm working with public domain superheroes. So most of my stuff most of the source material I pull from, if it's comic book related, is 1940s, 1950s drawn.
Yeah.
And if you take a 1940s book and early 1950s book, and you put them side by each with something from anywhere after 1960,
Yeah.
you look at the differences. It's almost a different medium. There's a whole different way of telling a story visually that changed in the 1960s and 70s, and has continued to evolve since. But the big change was in that period when Marvel became sort of ascendant.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you got this. If you look back at the 1940 stuff, when Batman gets into a fight, it's very staged. It's like somebody was taking pictures, and they picked the sort of the most posed pictures for the moment, as opposed to the most kinetic moment of the fight.
Yeah. Very. A lot of them were done in, I guess, in filmmaking terms, it would be medium long shot.
Yeah.
Or medium wide shot, I should
And
say.
nobody knew what a splash page was.
But then, yeah, when you got that magic happening between Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Ditko, they'd use Dutch tilts in certain panels. They'd have extreme close-ups, showing the
Absolutely.
fist about, bigger than a guy's head.
I will never forget the Stan Lee sort of directive was, if you're going to show a motion, never show the middle of the motion. Always show the beginning or the end. Don't show the middle bit, because the middle bit is boring. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So if you're going to show somebody punching somebody, you either show rearing back to do it, or the punch fully delivered and the guy reacting, because this in between part. Yeah. And a lot of the 1940 stuff would show you this. They would show you this moment of impact and they would give you like maybe a sparkle to give you the indication of the impact, but it didn't feel like it was actually happening. It felt drawn. Whereas with the Marvel, when they changed it to this whole past you thing, all of a sudden and I see that in what you guys are doing. I mean, it looks amazing, and it has. There's going to be 100 comps, right? Because you're doing something new, and you're doing superhero groups, and there's all the we're in the era of the superhero deconstruction. It's now, it's very common not common, but it's all of a sudden you've got Invincible and The Boys and things like that are taking old superhero tropes that we're used to and turning them on their heads, doing different things, which I think is great. And obviously you're doing something similar, but I like your concept. I like your idea of, it's not a question of bad guy versus good guy. It's a question of okay, these are two different ideologies. These are two different ways of looking at the world, and they're in conflict. And how does that play out if you have superpowers?
Right. And nobody thinks of themselves as the bad guy or the villain. When people tell their own story, their narrative is all they're either the victim or the hero in the stories that they tell. So it's like human psychology is to operate that way.
Yep.
Having said that, it's not deconstruction. I mean, we're working with superheroes, and I'm not like Alan Moore. I actually like the genre, and I enjoy it.
Me too.
And there's got to be an element of, there's got to be some suspension of disbelief, and there's got to be some. Well, I think it works best when there's some wish fulfillment. I think that's what drew me to comics in the first place. It's what is it if not wish fulfillment? Whether, so I wouldn't call it deconstructions, and I do want to say that I love the golden age. And when you look at the art and you look at the way the stories were crafted, you got to wonder, why would you like that? Because so much of it is not even mediocre. It's novice.
It's
right?
naive. There's a lot of naive storytelling in the early comic books, for sure.
And they were making it up as they went along to address the point you made earlier. They hadn't codified the language of comics yet. That came along as it developed, and people added on. But there were some standouts in the early days, like Will Eisner did some excellent art and some good stories. Was it Gardner Fox who did the early Hawkman?
Yeah,
great stuff, fantastic, loved it.
Jack Cole and Plastic Man.
Jack Cole and Plastic Man was
you just watch you look at the Plastic Man comic book and you're like, oh my, that's so not 1942 or whatever year it was.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like it feels like a funny book from the 60s. It has that sort of he took a bizarre idea and he just ran with it. He
really did. Yeah, it was more like a humor strip, stuff you would. And some of the way he drew some of the characters is more like what you would expect to see in a funny animal strip, which were, the first comic books were that.
I've got plans for Plastic Man in my universe. Now, just put yourself in my shoes for a second. I got to write Plastic Man in prose. I mean, it's a tough ask because it's such a visual character. But my idea is to take him sort of 180 degrees from the way he is, take him from the goofy fun to, yes, he can stretch and change his shape, and it sucks. It kills him when he does it. It's painful. He hates having to do it. It's hard. And it not only is it physically difficult, but it messes with his head, with his identity, with his whole sense of self and how he exists. And Woozy Winks is his psychologist.
Oh, okay. So
I have a plan. But again, it's visual. Like, I almost wish I could do it as a comic book because it would be easier to say to an artist, okay, here it is. I want Plastic Man to do X, Y, Z. Please draw that. Whereas trying to explain it to you in prose is going to be it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be, but it's great. It's a fun challenge. Something I love. It's
right. I've often thought about doing prose versions of superhero stories. Well, I actually did one, it was a parody.
Okay.
Called The Greater Good, and I don't know. I just don't know if it seems like prose just can't do the genre justice.
It's hard. I 100%. It is. I mean, the superhero was born in a visual medium, unlike every other hero in that's created, whether it's a romantic hero or an adventure hero. I mean, Doc Savage is a great comic book character, but he was born in prose, so you can write Doc Savage books, and that's where he came from. But
Tarzan too.
Yeah, exactly. But Superman was born as a visual. Superman was born as a drawing. So when I can't use Superman for another 8 years. Okay, and he's a big part of why I do what I do is Superman, because I'm 56. So by the time the golden age ends, I will be in my 80s. Okay, so when the golden age becomes public domain and the last of it enters the public domain in 2051, I'm going to be in my 80s. Okay, and after that, that's when the next stage will be things like the new version of the Flash and all the DC.
Oh, right.
science. I will be far too old to be dealing unless something changes with medical science. I won't be writing those stories. So I'm sort of stuck working with the public domain that as it is and as it's going to be in the next 15 years, which includes and starts with, for me, Superman. But I can't use them yet. And I'm writing all this stuff and I'm trying to put, superheroes into the public domain. And so fortunately, Captain Marvel is my Superman, basically, because thanks to some funky stuff that happened with Fawcett, when they went out of business, some of the Captain Marvel stuff fell into the public domain before DC ever picked it up. So I can write stories about Captain Marvel as long as I'm careful about the legalities and the trademarks and all the other stuff. I can use that character. So for me, that's who I'm writing sort of as my flagship character for public domain superheroes is Captain Marvel, is the big guy.
So that brings up something I've been meaning to ask you.
Okay.
Is that because of trademarks and so forth? Well, let's put Captain Marvel aside for the moment, who I like him better than Superman anyway.
He's a great character.
But let's say we get to the point where Superman is in the public domain, but are you allowed to call him Superman, or you just put him in the same costume and he has the same powers and the same background?
There's a bit of a legal sort of minefield you have to navigate, but it's not too bad. And I mean, people are already doing this with Mickey Mouse and Winnie the Pooh and Popeye. These are characters who have now fallen into the public domain. And there's two things to be aware of when it comes to that. Number one, you cannot use anything that's trademarked. So DC Comics owns a trademark on the word Superman. They own a trademark on that very, very specific Superman lettering that you see on the top comic books. They own a trademark on a bunch of different symbols of Superman.
Okay.
And the standard, if you were to use the Superman outfit on a cover of a comic book, if you do it in a way that implies that you own that character, you can get into trouble. But what you can do is you can take the art from that era once it enters the public domain. So specifically the early Action Comics in 2034, Action Comics #1 through whatever the last one for 2000 from 1938 would be. I think there's 8 of them or something. Any of those art, any of those covers, you can plaster those all over the place because they're now public domain. You cannot imply that you own the character, but you could do. So what I plan on doing is things like homage. So I'm going to take that visual of Superman with the car, and my Superman is very different physically from the Superman of the Action Comics Superman. And I'm going to change my little figure of Superman, and I'm going to make sure that the S that I use is not their S. And I'm going to rehab that basic cover redrawn, or do it in silhouette, just in, okay. I cannot use, so I can't call the book Superman XY, whatever. I can't do that because, again, that's trademark. Inside the book, I can call him Superman. I can call him Clark Kent. I can call him anything, because the trademark is about selling. Trademark is about trade. It's about protecting your brand for selling, for trade. So you cannot. So, for instance, my Captain Marvel book is called, the first one is called Say the Magic Word, Captain Marvel Begins. Now, I've put Captain Marvel on the cover, and I got to be very careful here, but he's in the subtitle, and there's a legal thing called nominative fair use, which means that if I'm describing the book, but not selling the book with the name, it's okay. It's a very narrow gray area. You got to be like, yeah, I did a lot of research.
Yeah.
And there's still always the potential that DC, now with Captain Marvel, I'm a little bit okay because DC doesn't own the trademark to Captain Marvel. Marvel Comics does. Because Captain Marvel is their character, and there's a whole legal thing. I'll write an article about that one of these days. Yeah. But one of the good things about starting with Captain Marvel is the likelihood of Marvel Comics coming after me for using that name in any way is very remote because I'm not using their character.
Right.
So I'm sort of, I'm skating through. There's always the possibility that DC Comics could come and say, nope, we're going to file a complaint with Amazon, and then I have to defend it. And if that happens, that happens. I would love that to happen because
I know, right?
The publicity I would get out of that is more than I could pay for in a lifetime.
Right.
but it's not. I'm really not worried about it. But it's a great question, and it really is. I belong to a lot of different Reddit groups, not belong to, but I serve in a lot of different Reddit groups talking about public domain and superheroes and all the rest of it. And there's a lot of misunderstanding about how that works, copyright and trademark, because they're not the same thing. And there's a lot of people don't understand and don't, and this is why you don't see the world plastered with Captain Marvel movies using the Fawcett version of Captain Marvel, even though he's public domain, because everybody's kind of like, I don't know, I'm not sure if that's really, and it's just they all walk on eggshells. So I decided to stomp through the eggshells. I'm like, the hell with it.
But so when you show him though, he's going to have the red tights with the white and yellow cape.
Yeah,
the lightning bolt motif.
In my books, I actually have changed him just slightly. In my books, Captain Marvel wears a red unitard and a gold sash and gold boots and the gold sort of racer things on his wrists. He doesn't have a symbol, and I did that for two reasons. One, the symbol's trademarked. In the book, I could describe it and it would be fine because they can't do anything inside the book. But I want to be able to use him visually at some point. So I replaced the sewn on or printed on sort of graphic idea of a lightning bolt with he's got an actual living electric arc on his chest that is there all the time. And it's sort of the power trying to get out.
Okay.
So that way it gave me, I can still do the visual of lightning on his chest, but I'm not touching Marvel comic or DC Comics because they do have a trademark on that lightning bolt. They've got a couple of lightning bolt trademarks. Captain Marvel and the Flash are all those are specific. So if you're ever using a lightning bolt on a character, you got to be careful that you don't imply that it's the Flash or Captain Marvel because they will come after you.
But if it's a completely different character and completely different costume, you can still use lightning bolt motif.
100%. You just have to you want to avoid that very specific. In the case of Captain Marvel, it starts big and gets smaller in 3 steps to a point.
Right.
In the case of the Flash, it starts at a point and goes in 3 stages or 2 stages depending. And those specific versions, that specific design is definitely trademarked.
Yeah.
It's the same with the S. Like you have to, if you're going to put an S on a character, if your character is called Sentry, I mean, you look at Marvel did the thing with they use Sentry in there, and he's got an S on his chest, but it's nothing like Superman's S.
Yeah,
and they get away with that because it's not the same, and it's obviously not. Okay. So when's the con? Now I understand from the email that you're sort of 75% done with the actual production of the comic. You're actually pretty far along. You're in the coloring stages, and you're about to, or you already have started a Kickstarter. Go ahead and tell us all about that.
Okay, I have all the inks, all the pencils and inks are done.
Okay,
and I'm about 75% done with the coloring and lettering. So I don't have that far to go. It takes forever to do that stuff. Just so you know. It takes freaking forever to do that.
Yeah.
So that's where it is. But I went ahead and I started a campaign on Fund My Comic.
Okay.
And that one started on the 7th, and my Kickstarter starts on the 28th.
Good.
I really like Fund My Comic, and I wish they had more of a. I wish they had more traffic there, more of a. What would you call it? Organic customer base.
Okay.
Because it's a free speech platform and they don't cancel people for stupid stuff, anything like that. And I want to support them. But it's looking like the Kickstarter is where I need to invest all the marketing I can come up with for it. And again, that one starts on April 28th.
Make sure we'll all the links will be in the article. I'll get you to send me all those links. We'll put them in the article down below. The Kickstarter, I've done a Kickstarter. I have done it once.
Have you?
Yeah, and I did
first.
Well, I did it at the very, 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 very beginning of Public Domain Superheroes. I had a different plan, and my idea was Spy Smasher, which is the first character.
Oh, he's cool. Yeah,
I love Spy Smasher. He's great.
Me too.
He was the first.
Really good serial. Are you gonna?
I actually poached the music from the serial for the Kickstarter. I basically made a little animatic because what I was trying to do was I wanted to get Spy Smasher made as an animated sort of 10-minute thing. expensive as hell, and I wasn't aware of all. It's a very crudely made thing. Didn't make a dime, and that's fine because it was more of a test than anything. But what I did was I poached the music, which for those who haven't seen it, Spice Smasher uses Beethoven's Fifth as its core piece of symphony. It's fantastic. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Then I took some of the Fleischer Superman stuff, which is public domain.
Oh,
there's a wonderful opening where Clark Kent is standing there. And he's standing there. He's as Superman, and he becomes Clark Kent. So I took all the frames out of it. I reversed the frames, and I recolored him as Spy Smasher with a yellow cape. And I have the guy with no hat in the original he wears a hat. And I have a guy in a suit becoming Spy Smasher in the thing. It's a fun little thing, and it took me days to make it. Oh my god!
I'm sure that sounds like a lot of work.
It was ridiculous. But the fortunate thing is that if you look at that piece of film, it's him standing there like this through the whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. He never moves. The only thing that happens is his physical, like his look changes. So as long as you have two, a suit and a super suit, you can basically make it happen with basic tools. I use Corel Draw for all this stuff, and it just basically changed them all. And the cape moved. The only thing that moves is the cape, and that was actually surprisingly that was the easiest part of all of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, fill with yellow, fill with yellow, fill with yellow, fill with yellow. Done. Yeah. But the point I was trying to make is that Kickstarters, you need to know, at least from my experience, that Kickstarter is not a publication platform. They don't do anything for you other than put you on their website. All the footwork is on you. You've got to go out and get the people to the website to do that, because they don't promote you at all.
Right.
You're basically just there. You're part of their ecosystem, and if people find you, they'll take your money. And that's how it works. So I wish I'll be there. I wish you all the luck in the world with the Kickstarter. But yeah, just so it's still you're slogging through it's just as bad as trying to promote books. It's like, oh my God, I wanted to be an author. I didn't want to be a marketing guy, but lo and behold, here I am. Right. So.
And we had no idea that it's like for every reader, there's like 120 authors trying to fill in their book.
Who knew? Who knew? I remember the first time I got on Reddit, and I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, promote my book thing," and I was all excited that I put my book up there. And then I went back like a week later, and I realized that after I put mine up, about 400 other authors had put their books up, and mine was now way down at the bottom of the list, and nobody even looked at it. And I'm like,
yeah, okay,
this is a different thing than what I thought I was dealing with. And that's okay. That's okay. Substack for this is fantastic. Because yes, there's tons and tons of us out there who are writing and creating and all the rest of it. The difference here, though, and I don't know how much you've found this, but for me, what I've found is that the difference is that the authors and creators here actually open and look at other people's work. Everywhere else on the net that I've been where authors gather, it's like they're all standing in a room on chairs, shouting and waving their books and not paying any attention to each other whatsoever. But here, there's some attention. I mean, we're all still trying to flog our books. I mean, and that's fine. That's why we're here. But I want to know about your comic book. I want to know about whoever's writing what. And it's exciting to me because actually I'm discovering some fun new things. Just last week, I did a conversation with a guy who's doing another version of public domain superheroes. He's doing his own public domain. Oh, really? Yeah, and it's totally different than mine. It's nothing remotely like what I'm doing, and that's great. That's fantastic. I want to know more about it. What you're doing is, again, totally different, but it has that flavor of I'm taking the rules and I'm putting them over here, and I might use some of them, but I'm doing this my way. This is my story. This is how I'm writing it. You don't like it, you don't have to read it, but if you like it, you'll love it. And I think that's what I feel. That's how I got the feeling I got from what you sent in the email. It was amazing.
That sounds like what I'm trying to do. Yeah. And I don't know. So I heard, I can't remember who it was that said it or what I was listening to when I heard it, but years ago I heard someone say they're griping about experimental art. I don't know how much you know about experimental art, but I've encountered it a little bit. And when I was in college, I ran into that crowd. I I moved in and out of that crowd a lot. And I think a lot of them really don't have the talent to make actual art that people can understand.
That's fair.
So they make the stuff that nobody can relate to. And then if you criticize it, they're, well, you just don't understand what I'm accomplishing with this. So this thing on the radio I heard was that, like, you need to learn how to do it the conventional way and get that down pat before you start breaking rules. And I don't know if nobody has to believe that. I'm not sure I completely believe it, but that is kind of what I did. I learned how to do it. I learned the rules.
Yep.
And then now when I want to, I break them.
And there is something to be said for that, because I look at things like Jim Steranko in the 70s doing the can't remember which character was Nick Fury, the early Nick Fury stuff. Yeah. And you look at what he did, and it's like, it's so out there. It's just, but today you look and you think, well, that's great. That's so cool. He took all the rules, threw them out, because he knew how to do it in such a way that when he threw those rules out, you were still looking at something that made sense. You were still doing. He just approached it from a whole other angle, and it was amazing. What you're doing with I keep going back to this, because to me it's such a key organized idea that has legs. Is this idea of two sets of who feel like they're the good guys. Now, if I'm writing that, in the end, neither is really the good guy. There's kind of a bit of a how much compromise is too much compromise kind of storytelling that I would want to do in there. But having both sides really believe that they're on the right side of history, to me, is that's core storytelling. That's taking narrative and turning it into history. That's because that's, like I said at the beginning, that's how history works. Nobody ever went to war thinking, we're really wrong about this. We really shouldn't be doing this. It never happened. Nobody ever did that. And even you look at what's going on around the world, even now, you can find groups on either side of every conflict that's active on the planet who think they're on the right side of it.
Yeah.
And I have no interest in getting into the actual politics of that, but the storytelling part of that is fantastic. I think that's wonderful, because there is so much narrative juice there. You can have there's nothing better than an enthusiastic villain who really believes he's the good guy.
And I think some of the characters on both sides, I think they're great. I think they're fun to watch, even if you disagree with their ideology or whatever.
And I love that. if you're having fun writing sort of both sides of that, regardless of what the motivations are, to me, that's, you need to love your characters. I have a long-standing villain who runs through of the 8 books I've published. He's in 4 or 5 of them. He's an immortal character who threads through my whole storyline over 10,000 years. And I love him. He's fun to write because he's got this motivation that I haven't fully disclosed yet in the stories. And as I'm writing, I'm seeing his motivation, and I understand from his perspective how right he feels, even though what he's doing is horrible. What he's actually doing to accomplish this is as villainous can be. But his core reasoning, his core plan, his core motivation is pure. He really believes he's the good guy. And to me, that's the fun writing, because if you can make the reader question that and sort of look at this and say, "Ooh, well, maybe he is the good guy." That's a great spin. If you can do that, that's winning storytelling.
The bottom line, at the end of the day, I want it to be fun. I want readers to have a good experience and to feel satisfied when it's over. So it's not
108 pages is a good start.
Yeah. I don't want to make it sound experimental or avant-garde or anything like that, because really it's about fun. But I am using some techniques. I'm doing some stuff that I haven't seen anyone else do.
Okay, cool.
And and one of those, and I talked about it on Comics Odyssey with Ulysses, which was one of your guests.
Yep.
By the way, I should talk about him at some point, because what he's doing is really kind of underground comics.
Yep.
He's like making his own comic, Spirit Girl, and he's printing it himself and publishing it himself, out of his printer. And
He's like one of those dudes in the '60s in his dorm room, like banging out the Mad magazine that's never been published before. It's fantastic. I love it.
And he's selling it like at his local comic book shop, and he's selling it online. And he also made this decision to start before his art was, industry standard or whatever. So you can actually see the progression of him improving as he goes. And he's already at the point where I think he's pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I actually, he's on my summer reading list. Spirit Girl is definitely a part of my. I have a large porch that is basically 2 seasons. It's great for like mid spring through to early summer, and late summer to early fall, and then it's too cold or too hot. But that's where I love to read, and I cannot wait. I can't wait to be sitting out there with that. I've got a whole stack of reading I want to do, including Spirit Girl. So I'm really looking forward to it. I loved having a chat with him. He was great. And that whole concept of that sort of underground one-man show kind of thing, you don't get any more pure than that. That's just that's pure, right. That's pure art. That's wonderful. And I'm all for it. I love that you brought him up. I'm glad.
And that takes big brass huevos to do that.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding. What do you do like for editing? Like I as prose, I have a different scenario where I write my prose. I just this week, I updated all my covers, and I had an opportunity while I was doing that to go back, and all of my books have been through a pro editor except the first one. The first one I did myself. I ran it through AI editing, grammar things, blah, blah. And I thought, okay, it's as good as I can make it. And I published it. Well, 2-3 weeks ago, I sent it to my editor. She did her thing. I got it back. Oh my word. It was worse than anything I've done in terms of how many corrections I had to do. It was unbelievable how much work I had to do to fix it. Now it's fixed. So you can go and buy Doctor of Satan and the Element of Evil. It's perfect. Go ahead. But what do you do for editing? Like obviously you send a script to your artist, but how does that work? Like, do you guys do like sort of back and forth? Like, here's my draft. Here's what I'm doing. Like, what do you do? We want to know.
Oh, you mean working with the artist?
Yeah. Like, is it, I mean, you're not in the same city, I'm guessing.
No, we're not in the same state, but so, like I said, I wrote a very detailed script, and he takes creative license, as all artists do, apparently, with different stuff. Sometimes he forgets stuff that I put in the script. And if it's really important to me, I'll go back. I'll say, hey, where's this? This is really important for the story to have this in there. And he'll say, okay. And I wasn't too pushy about it, because my experience with artists, honestly, I was waiting for him to just flake on me at any moment. And I didn't want to be too demanding, or he'd say, no, this is a drag, man. I'm going to go do something else. Not that he's a hippie, but I'm summarizing that attitude that way.
I know the attitude. I've experienced it myself, and I feel your pain. I know exactly what you're talking about. It can be very difficult, particularly if you want more than one thing. Like I go with chapter art for my books. So I'm asking for I need a dozen, sketches, not just one cover. I need this, and this, and I need it to be like this, and this, and this. And then I get it back, and I'm like, 3 out of 12 are good. 3 out of 12 are terrible. 6 out of 12 are, I don't know what's going on. So,
yeah. Well, I could tell you, if I had the patience for that, I could make a real tragicomedy or a black comedy about trying to work with artists for the first couple of years before I found Luke. But anyway, there was that happened, and there was a point, and I used I like to play around with structure sometimes, and I kind of use an unusual structure with some of my stories. And at one point he said, hey, I think would work better if we rearrange this.
Okay.
And put this over here and put that over there. And I thought about it, and he was actually doing me a favor. He was trying to make the story punch harder.
Okay.
And I thought he had a point, so I went with his suggestion. And you'll find if you look at the script and then you look at the comic, you'll see it diverges there, like toward in the middle of the second act or so. And that may be one of the excerpts from the script that I put in the deluxe edition.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to put some stuff like that. I was going to say about when I was on Comics Odyssey with Ulysses, I mentioned that for my characters, I designed them. Well, some of them I had since I was a kid. Right.
Okay.
Some of them I made, and they evolved over the years. Right. Even during all the years where I never thought I'd really get to the point where I could make comic books someday, I held on to these characters and I thought, well, that was kind of silly, or that was too derivative or something. And I'd tweak them in my mind because I've got one of those minds that just won't stop. Like if I'm driving long distances or doing really mundane work at my job, this thing just won't stop. So that's what I mean when I nurtured it and tweaked it over the years. Some of them I did build from the ground up for this story. But with all of them, I'm a generational theory nerd. And so in generational theory, there's 4 generational archetypes in American history. And like every generation conforms to one of those 4 archetypes. And I became fascinated as I learned about this stuff. And long story short, I thought it would be really cool if I put all these different archetypes together in the same story, but they were all in their prime. They were all, about between 20 and 30, or between 18 and 30, where they're all in their peak, and they're superheroes, of course. So, but it would be really fascinating, I think, to show the contrast in personalities and how they interact and their personalities are somewhat based on the peer personalities from Strauss and Howe's 4 archetypes.
Okay, cool. No, that's cool. I'm actually my version of that is literally going the opposite way. I actually take all of my heroes and I'm spreading them out through history. So I've got guys that are, I'm going back as far as 10,000 BC, and I'm going as far as tomorrow, and I'm playing with all of the public domain heroes that are available now with intent of using others as they come. But I'm doing things like I'm moving them. So I have, I planned for Superman to be a 1930s thing. I want him to actually go back to where he came from. That's my plan with him, is to start to ground him and Batman specifically, 1930, late 1930s. There's a very specific reason and a plan for that. But Captain America, who comes in the public domain just a couple of years after Superman, I'm going to start Captain America in the 70s. And I'm going to have Captain America. I'm going to take him out because World War II Captain America has been done not to death, but he's been done so often and so well. I'm not even going to try. I don't want to try. I want to see what happens when we put Captain America in a different place. And I'm Canadian, so I got a whole outside perspective looking at this. And I've already got a Patriot Corps group of heroes. I use Minuteman, the Shield, Fighting American, and Miss Victory as my initial 1940s version of that. Mm-hmm. And my idea is to have that sort of run through history from that point forward, and maybe even backwards. I might even go back and backfill that. I haven't decided on that yet. But Captain America will be part of that. And the interesting conflict of sort of bringing this icon of sort of Americanism and fitting him into a different version of patriotism from a different era. I'm fascinated by that. I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Boy, the 70s is wow. Because that's post-Vietnam, post-Watergate.
Yep.
Patriotism was really seemed like it was non-existent.
I grew up with Captain America in that era. My first exposure to Captain America was the made-for-TV movies with Captain America with the two.
Wearing the motorcycle helmet,
the motorcycle helmet, and the glider, and the funky bike, and the clear shield, and the whole bit. That was my first exposure to Captain America. So for me, I actually, and not only Captain America, I'm doing the same thing with Wonder Woman. I'm actually planning on putting her into that same era, not 1940s where she was originally created. She's going to show up. And I think the juxtaposition of those two characters as well, that's going to be a hoot. That's going to be so much fun. But to get to your archetype thing, when you're doing this, I mean, it seems like every comic book has, when they create a super team, they always have a Superman, they always have a Flash, they always have like a Wonder Woman type. Did you go down that road and say, okay, well, we need these 5 types of power sets, or did you have like a whole different approach to it? How did you pull that off?
No, it was a whole different approach. I don't think you can. I don't think what you create is as interesting or as powerful if you go at it too clinically, too scientifically. And we need to balance it with a Superman character here, and we need a Wonder Woman character here, and then we need a street level hero like the Batman. I don't think it works out that well. So I had basically what I took was what I thought were the strongest characters I'd already created.
Excellent.
And by strongest, I mean the most well-developed, the most interesting.
Yeah.
They had a definite personality that stands out. And then the superpowers were a secondary thing,
100%.
And then as I created some to fill in this pantheon I'm making, I also concentrated on what would be most interesting, kind of balanced with, again, verisimilitude in comic books. I mean, why do I even mention it? Because it's like superpowered people with capes and tights flying around. But I did draw a little bit. I wanted it to be a little bit pragmatic. So the balance of the personalities and the pragmatism and what would actually fit the story and drive the story along is how I built this team. And actually, I can show you some images from that. I just realized because my website has been. Let me share this.
Yeah. See if it works. I've never tried it, so
my website's been under construction because before, when I tried sharing this stuff with Ulysses, it took forever to go from page to page.
Okay.
But let's see. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay. It's right here.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Right.
I will be very curious to see how this works on the video, because when I tried to do this myself the first time, I ended up with 10 minutes of a blank screen. I don't know what I did wrong. So fingers crossed.
So those are my 4 cover variants. And then if we go down here. All right. So speaking of patriotic heroes, this is, whoa. Oh, crap. All right. So never mind.
Selling yourself short.
Never mind.
That's okay. That's part of the fun with this. I love Turbo Knight. Looks great, by the way. Turbo Knight looks really good. He looks like a sort of and again, there's only so much I can get from the limited bits that I saw from the email that I got. But Turbo Knight, for sort of a comic book shorthand, looks like something between Captain America, Superman, and Iron Man, somewhere in sort of in that,
and the Rocketeer.
Even better.
At least the Golden Age Turbo Knight was a lot like the Rocketeer, except he had wings. He actually flew using wings.
Absolutely love it.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, with the storytelling thing and the you mentioned, and it was a line I wanted, because you talked about your strongest characters, and there's a tendency in I've found in modern comic books, ever since Superman basically got to fly. When I start using him, I have to use him the way he was created in those years, and he's not a flying character. He's a strong man who can leap a quarter of a mile, eighth of a mile, whatever it is. He can lift a car, but he's sort of bullet resistant, maybe not quite bulletproof. No freeze breath, no heat vision. He's basically
he was Doc Savage on steroids, is what he was.
Or Hercules, he's not the super, to me. And I love Superman. I went to the theater as a 7-year-old to see Christopher Reeves fly. So Superman is my guy. But telling stories about a guy who can lift a planet it's problematic. It's boring. I mean, like how do you threaten that guy without threatening the whole world? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't. Yeah, it's a difficult.
They made him too powerful, and they painted themselves into a corner, and they had to create kryptonite so there'd be some way to challenge him. And then every freaking plot became about kryptonite.
Yeah.
So
And
apparently it was available in every corner store because every crook in the world had access to it.
Little keychain made of krypton. I want to see what happens from my universe, and I also, just for clarity, I want to do comic books. I want to do animated, and both of those are projects that are in the back of my noodle, and I'm thinking about them. Comic books are definitely on the table, and there's without a doubt going to happen. And in fact, my initial story, the Superman story, was originally conceived as an animated thing. That's why the Spy Smasher thing was done. That's how sort of all this came together. But visually, to me, they're much more interesting when they have limits, when they have, I mean, not, let's call them unreasonable limits. So yes, he can pick up a car, but can he pick up an 18-wheeler? Maybe not. He can pick up, bullets bounce off.
He is more powerful than a locomotive.
Okay, yeah, fair, bad example. Bullets bounce off of him, but what about a depleted uranium shell? That's right. To me, this is where the limits, instead of having to have every crook have a chunk of kryptonite in his pocket, and this doesn't just apply to Superman. This is all here because they all seem to gather steam. They're like little snowballs. They all start with a great kernel idea, and then next thing you know, they're all the Incredible Hulk, and they're way overpowered. And it's hard to tell fresh stories because all they got to do is breathe, and the villain will die. And
interestingly, the exception to that was Spider-Man.
Oh,
because he started out like the fourth strongest character in Marvel, and then they got, like, in the 70s and 80s, they started making him weaker and wimpier as he went along.
I love a character that has to struggle. There's a great line in one of the DC Comics animated features I think it's Crisis on Two Earths. Superman is talking to the president, and the president says, "We can't go up against this team of supervillains because they're too strong. They're stronger than anything we have." And his line is, "I go up against guys stronger than me all the time." And to me, that's the difference between a villain and a hero, right? Is like the villain runs up against something who's stronger than him, and he says, "Okay, I'm going to turn around and find a way to stab this guy in the back or poison him, or I'm just going to I don't want to deal with." The hero says, "Okay, he's stronger than me, but I don't have a choice. I can't let him get away with this." And that, to me, is the sort of the core of the heroic dynamic. Superman is only interesting on that front if he's not the most powerful being on the planet. He has to have limits.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't know with your characters, and they look so good. I can't wait I really want to read this comic. I'm very excited about it.
Thank you.
What was your approach with that? Like, did you? I can't remember all the different power sets and everything from them. I got that there was one guy who was a sort of a super soldier type, who was okay. And I got that. Obviously, we mentioned the Knight character, who was the sort of the mechanic. But what was your approach? Like, did you say, "Okay, I've got 6 characters on each side," and okay, did you set limits ahead of time, or did you sort of say just let it kind of evolve as it went for storytelling purposes?
It was more of an evolution. Let me share screen again, and I'll talk about them as I go through the thumbnails, so we can see the thumbnails.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So starting with Turbo Knight, which he's really got 2 names. That's the name he wanted for himself, but people started calling him Ramjet.
Okay.
Which I think is it's a catchier name anyway.
Sure.
I'm gonna go down here. He was okay. So there's this the cosmic quake. This dimensional storm is opening fissures and portals and stuff, and characters are popping in from all over the multiverse. And he's a World War II veteran. He's GI generation, and he was a P-47 pilot. And when the weather cleared during the Battle of the Bulge, he got shot down, and he wound up losing his legs. But because he's a builder, which GI generation are, and he was fascinated with technology and aviation, and he also had a affinity for chivalry and like studying knights, like I did when I was a kid. He not only built some robotic legs to replace the ones he'd lost. But eventually he built this battle harness, which enables him to fly. And of course, it amplifies his strength and stuff like that. And he is, I thought, one of the things I think that makes him interesting, like you were just saying, is that he's vulnerable. He's a normal human being under this armor.
Yeah.
And it's not like Iron Man's armor, which is like does impossible stuff. His is more grounded in reality. His fuel does run out. He can't like magically assemble his armor. You know, each one of them apparently has its own rocket motor that can fly across multiple states and then come together. None of that garbage.
Yeah,
and but he's vulnerable. He's powerful, but he is an aspirational hero, and he is in one way that he's like Captain America. A couple ways that he's like Captain America is that he's out of time. Obviously, he was a World War II soldier,
right,
or a World War II pilot, I should say, and he's also even the world he finds himself in is. It's hard to know what's right and wrong because they've been so confused and conflated over time. But he still has a drive to do what's right, no matter what.
Excellent.
And so that can be a handicap all by itself.
Absolutely. There's the moral center can be its own sort of, thing that has to be carried like a burden. I mean, there's how much. You talk now the practical thing, and I love that. I love that your characters are practical, that there's a certain sort of real world type limitations. One of the things that I sort of work towards and I'm trying to make work is when Superman has to, or Shazam, or Captain Marvel, or another character with that kind of power has to do something like save an airplane. Well, if a character that can fly flies up underneath an airplane and puts his body up against the bottom of the airplane and tries to lift, all he's going to do is go right through that airplane from bottom to top and come up. He's going to do, because it's made of aluminum and a very thin skin for its dynamics and all that. So I've tried to put that idea forward that when it comes to these sorts of things, my heroes can fail. They can struggle with the basic dynamics of one of my I have to have Captain Marvel lose a fight because that's part of the story. And I'm like, how do I do this? Because he's this, magical, invulnerable, blah, blah. But he's subject to physics. He's subject to his own physics. He has his own power. So my way of having him lose a fight is to have him flying full speed at a villain. The villain is a better fighter than the teenager who becomes Captain Marvel. The villain pivots and grabs him by the magical cape and yanks as hard as he can. Well, Marvel is moving at supersonic speeds, and the cape is magical and will not break. Something has to break there. Something has to happen. So that's that, and I've tried to bring that sort of dynamic into everything that I do, and it sounds like you guys are doing the same thing, and I think that's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, because exactly what you said about the aircraft. I mean, he would crush the fuselage if he did that.
Absolutely.
And like Superman uses his super breath to freeze a lake so that he can transport the ice somewhere to, put out a fire or something. And he grabs it by the edge of the ice. Now, how, his hands are only as big as ours. Physics apply. That just ain't going to freaking work.
Of course. And this is, I mean, one of the things 1970 Superman movie did really well. Superman saves the plane by basically becoming an engine. The engine goes kablooey, and he physically, now whether that would actually physically work in terms of physics, there's probably some question there. But at the very least, it's plausible. You look at that, and, okay, he's basically an engine, and he's fit himself into there, and that thing is designed to take the weight of that engine and thrust. So you think, okay, the whole thing, the structure of that makes sense that he would be able to do that. The Superman Returns movie, where he brings the plane down in the middle of the stadium. Field.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, that scene is amazing. It's probably one of the best superhero scenes ever filmed, but the physics of that are nonsense. They're just absolute nonsense. It's impossible. How would he pick up an entire jet by lifting at the weakest point of the fuselage.
Right.
It's insane.
And I agree on all points. First, it was a superbly done superhero scene. Best scene in that movie easily.
Oh, by far.
And it's like, yeah, it really, it was just done masterfully. However, the physics don't hold up. So I agree with you on all that.
Not even close. Actually, I on a totally unrelated note, I actually did a recut of that movie with like as a fan edit, and I reordered it and did a whole bunch of stuff to it. I cut out the kid completely. I cut out a bunch of it. I put all the actions in different orders, and I made that airplane scene the central middle part of the movie as opposed to the first time he arrives, because it's the best scene.
Interesting.
And I honestly think it's a better movie. And the hard drive that was on went about a year ago.
Oh no!
Yeah, so I'd worked on it for like years, and it was beautiful. And it was just about ready to hit, and it went, and the hard drive is gone. I know how it all goes. I plan one of these days to redo it, but yeah, what a disaster!
Oh boy, yeah, I could tell you some stories. But this right here, this is my Generation X character. He actually warped in from 1986.
Okay, perfect.
And he, his working name is the Juggernaut. And I did go and I checked to make sure that name was not trademarked.
Okay.
So, and not that he's anything like the Juggernaut that's in Marvel, which I think he's like a minor villain.
Yeah, he's a villain. And in terms of the copyright, the only issue there would be is if your hero was a similar sort of had a similar backstory, a similar sort of power set, everything was very close to it, that might be a problem. But already, just by what you're saying, he's the hero, so that takes it out of play right off the bat. And
being Generation X, he's more of an anti-hero.
Okay.
So he's and I have trailers, by the way, if you have a chance, or if your watchers have a chance to watch the trailers. I have 3 different character introduction trailers in addition to the normal one, the normal widescreen one, and the normal TikTok trailer.
Links links below, folks. I'll put we'll get all that on the article, I promise.
And so he's the powerhouse. He's got super strength. He cannot fly. So he's power-wise, I guess he's a lot like the original Superman was. Okay. Where he could leap tall buildings if he wanted to. He's more powerful than a locomotive. And nothing less than a bursting shell can break his skin. Right. But as when what you were talking about before, they all have to be challenged, and they all have to fight something that's greater than themselves at some point anyway. He actually gets the Pentagon gets directly involved with trying to wipe him out. Okay. So he gets cornered and hit with artillery and tanks and strike fighters and stuff. And he finds out that his skin can be broken. It's like the first time in his life it's happened since he hit puberty. So he can't, but he has to bounce back through that. And he and Ramjet both have a character arc that's going to take them through the entire series.
Okay.
So it's not going to be complete with the first book, although the first book does have a beginning, middle, and an end. I mean, it's standalone in that sense.
Excellent.
But he doesn't play well with others.
Great.
And that's something that's going to be a problem with getting him to work on a certain team. And of course, like I said, the armed forces are already hell bent on killing him. But it turns out he's not easy to kill.
Very good.
So that's him. And here's Metzger. This is Turbo Knight in the new reality. And of course, he has no legs, so he's getting around on a wheelchair. This is my street level hero, and he's actually part of a team unto itself. So he dresses like a camouflage ninja. Right here, he's wearing urban camouflage because he's in an urban environment.
Right.
And he's got technology. These goggles are actually their night vision devices, thermal night vision devices. And in this panel, you can kind of see he's also capable of making himself invisible through technology. the one that goes out on the missions most of all is the middle son. He's a martial arts nerd, and he's done some gymnast and stuff, so he's got acrobatic abilities. But he's backed up by the team of his father and his brothers.
Okay, cool.
Who are very tech savvy, and his father goes on with him on missions, to provide backup and stuff. But meanwhile, he's got these tech geniuses who are tracking everything they do, and they can bring, drone swarms to the rescue if necessary. They can shut down surveillance if he needs to escape.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's not magic, but they are, with everything being tied to the net now, when they hack into the system, there's a lot they can accomplish that way. So he's not a lone vigilante. He's got a whole team backing him up, a very talented team backing him up.
Cool. No, I love it.
This here is Dr. Detente. He's a silent generation character, and he's the most traditional, the most conformist of all, and he's got the traditional superhero outfit.
Right.
Now and I'm publishing articles about how I came up with some of these characters. And so I've already done one on him, so I won't rehash it here, but he's got laser vision, he can fly, and he's almost invulnerable. I guess he's more like the Tick.
Okay. Yeah.
It takes a lot to hurt him, but he can be hurt.
Okay, fair.
And then, so the three main characters are Turbo Knight or Ramjet, the Juggernaut, and Phantom Raider, which is the street level one I just showed you.
Okay.
But there's minor characters, and they're only minor because I did, with only 108 pages, I can't really.
There's only so much you can do.
Yeah. So there's some great characters like this one here. I think he's great. This is Captain Dynamo.
I love the outfit. I love the outfit. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the cowl that stops at the hairline. I don't know why. Ever since like the first time I saw Kid Flash wearing that.
Kid Flash and Captain Atom and Charlton.
Yeah.
Had that
I didn't run across Captain Atom in those days. I saw Kid Flash first, and that was the one. But when I saw the Captain, I'm like, oh, that's where it came from. Okay.
Yeah, and he's got lightning powers, so he can control and project electricity. And I wound up making him very. So the term threat quotient is because the Pentagon and the IUS are categorizing these ultrahumans according to how much damage they can cause.
Okay, cool.
And it turns out he's like one of the most powerful. He's got a threat quotient of 94. Okay. So that's how powerful his lightning is.
Wicked. Love it.
Yeah, and he's a character who's a whole lot different. This is one of the ones that I thought up when I was a kid, and he's a whole lot different now than he was then.
Fantastic.
Everything from nationality to his actual powers and personality is all completely different. But I like that name, so I kept the name.
Yeah, no, great. That's cool. Like I said, I love the outfit. The outfit looks amazing. Yellow and blue is a great combo. Fairly underdone in the superhero world, surprisingly enough. Not a relatively overused color combo.
You mentioned Dr. Fate, which is the only one I can really think of who has that color scheme.
Yeah, and Dr. Fate is. This is one of the things, and it's so fun because with what I'm doing, I can't use these characters. I've got another 8 to 10 to 12 to 15 years to use various characters. Like Fate's at least 10 years, but Fate's one of these great characters that shows up because of magic that is in the world before he is, and the character is derived from a historical version of that concept. So Naboo, the character who creates the helmet for him, Naboo's a legit Babylonian god. Well, I wrote a story called The Gauntlet of Naboo, and somebody asked me, they're like, Naboo, is that like Naboo of? Yes, it is. Yes, yes, it is. And but that Gauntlet of Naboo story happens in 1700 Massachusetts. So it's not, it's not Dr. Fate. There's no Dr. Fate in there. It's a gauntlet, not a helmet. And I can only do what I can do. But I so want to tell you all about it. Oh my God. It's just like, oh, please. I want to spoil the whole universe, but I don't want to spoil the whole universe. It's frustrating.
Oh, and so as far as the costumes go, I revealed this elsewhere, so it's not really a secret. But
Okay.
so I'm an '80s kid, and I really liked comic books when I was young. Well, I still like them, and I've never had a problem with loud colors. I always like loud colors, but most people are offended by them, apparently, including my own relatives. Um, so I didn't really trust myself to come up with the color schemes on this. So for most of these characters, I basically I went and looked at NFL team uniforms
Oh, okay.
and appropriated their color scheme for them. You may have noticed Dr. Detente has got San Francisco 49ers colors.
Okay.
Uh,
Cool.
Captain Dynamo has Los Angeles Ram / San Diego Charger colors. San Diego Chargers just seem like a natural because they got the lightning bolt motif, you know. And Juggernaut right now he's got kind of a paramilitary look, and he's going to keep that, but by the time he's done, he's eventually going to have Cleveland Brown colors.
Okay, cool. I love it. That's the kind of note that you put in the back matter of the book in a Stanley essay, and you talk about it in there. People will discuss it for decades. It's fantastic.
Well, let's hope so.
Oh no, that's great. I love the content. I mean, when I do, again, I write prose, so for me, it's a little bit more. Okay, what's another word for red? It's not the same thing. Like I have to. I look at it. Yeah, I got scarlet and crimson and red, and it's a difficult thing to not repeat myself. But I love the idea of you're picking them from. Now I'm a baseball guy, so
okay.
football is not my thing. I'm a baseball guy. I'd be like Colorado Rockies, and actually when I had my house, I did my house has purple trim, and when I hired the painter, he's like, "Well, what shade of purple?" I'm like, Colorado Rockies purple. And that wasn't really the shade that I wanted. I'm like, this is the closest thing he's going to be able to relate to. Right? Yeah. And he found it, and it was perfect. And so I might appropriate that. We might see some Blue Jays colored superheroes.
I should have kept my secret.
Yeah, I might steal your idea. That's actually a fantastic, really great real world nugget that is something that okay, I'm a geek. Sports are largely not my thing except for baseball. Sports are a much bigger thing in the universe for most people than comic books. Yeah. Well, you just found a way to have every male sports fan on the planet be like, oh, I get it. I sort of get it. That's an in. I would be playing on that like crazy, man. I would have that's to me, because readership is hard. Finding readers is hard. So if you if you can tap into a group of readers that nobody else has tapped into in the comic book world, you're going to make $1 million, man. You're going to, and honestly, the football thing, that's genius. That is that's genius. I love it. Now, we've been doing this for over an hour.
Oops.
I'm okay with it. But here's the thing that I've found. When I look at my YouTube numbers and I look at the graph that they give me, the lovely, here's what your viewership looks like. Every single video goes like this to about the 13-minute mark, and then it goes like this. Okay. So it's all good. We're gonna do more of this. We're gonna wrap it up because we're literally at an hour and 13 minutes at this point.
That's fine.
We've had a great conversation, and I will do it again when your Kickstarter gets going, and when you're sort of in the middle of it, and you've got some maybe some pages to show. We're going to do more of this because I want to do one of these at least once or twice a week. And finding guys that want to come on is not. I won't say it's hard, but it's still a bit of a struggle. There's still a bit of not a lot of the Substack authors are like, oh, well, I don't know. And that's fine. That's okay. That's all, and some authors do not want to do video. And I get that too. Yeah. That's all good. To me, this is talking to my audience directly and your audience directly at the same time. That's huge, man. I all of a sudden am tapping into NFL fans. This was not going to happen today. I had no, that was not on the list when I started today. I was talking to NFL fans, was not on my list. And now I have. So that's great. And you're going to tap into what the audience I have. To me, this is the kind of thing that we should be doing more of. If you're out there and you're watching this and you've stuck through it for an hour and 15 minutes, thank you very much. If you're a Substack author and you're watching this, hit me up on the DMs. I would love to talk to you. I would be willing to bet that Henry Brown would love to talk to you too, because this is a great way to get some back and forth. And I learned something today. I learned about generational things, and I learned about color cord. It's amazing. I every time I do one of these, I learn something new. So we'll do it again soon. It's been a hoot. It's been a blast. Give it about 20 minutes while it processes, and it'll be up on my YouTube channel. And once it's all up, I will hit you up and we'll get all your links and everything else. So in the article, it's going to be there, and it'll all be nice and tidy, and then people can find your Kickstarter and your Fund My Comic and all that great stuff. So thanks for watching, guys. We've had a great time. This is Henry Brown. I'm James, publicdomainsuperheroes.com, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, you, James. Henry. Had a good time.
Me too. I had a great time. Just got to find the end button.